The secret to transforming your life isn't hard work. It's one assumption that changes everything. There is one assumption that, if you dare to hold it as naturally as you hold your own breath, will rearrange the entire structure of your life. It is not many things. It is not a list of techniques. It is not a complicated ritual. It is one inner stance, a single posture of consciousness that turns ordinary men and women into creators of their own destiny. Assume that what you desire is already yours, that it is already a fact in the unseen. And life will bend, curve, and reshape itself to mirror that assumption. For most people, life is something that happens to them. They are pushed by circumstances, pulled by conditions, shaped by disappointments, and molded by memories. They wait for evidence before they believe, wait for results before they claim, wait for signs before they dare to feel differently. But the law works in reverse. Belief is not the result of evidence. Evidence is the result of belief. The world does not instruct your imagination. Your imagination instructs the world. What you assume quietly, persistently, and faithfully must appear. If you truly assume that your desire is yours now, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, the entire pattern of your inner conversations changes, your reactions shift, your feelings stand on new ground. You carry yourself as one who already holds the prize, and the invisible side of life responds instantly. Every assumption is a seed in the soil of consciousness. And consciousness never keeps a seed without bringing forth its harvest. The moment you plant it, the moment you dare to believe it, creation begins. But when I say assume, I do not mean daydream. Daydreams are soft, fleeting, and detached. They are pleasant, but they do not command reality. To assume is to claim possession, to take hold, to embody the state so completely that you forget the old one. To assume is to live from the desire, not toward it. You shift your identity from the person seeking, waiting, hoping, to the person who already is, who already has, who already became. Try it. Take a desire in your mind right now. Make it real. Feel the relief of it done. Feel the gratitude that naturally rises when the wish has been fulfilled. Notice how your breath changes when you imagine it as a finished fact. Notice the ease that enters your body, the confidence that replaces doubt, the stillness that takes the place of worry. You are touching the creative power. You are stirring the law into action. Assume you are already the person you long to be, and life will reorganize itself around that identity. Doors will open, encounters will appear, ideas will emerge. Opportunities you did not consciously create will rush in. Why? Because assumption is not imagination floating in the air assumption, it is imagination becoming cause. Every state carries its own set of circumstances, and when you inhabit a state, its conditions must form around you. You cannot live in the state of abundance and continue to experience lack. You cannot dwell in the state of love and continue to encounter rejection. You cannot rest in the state of success and continue to see failure. The inner state rules the outer scene. But most people assume the wrong thing. They assume delay. They assume difficulty. They assume unworthiness. They assume things take time, that change must be hard, that life will challenge their dreams. They call these assumptions facts, but they are not facts. They are unconscious choices, automatic inner postures, and they generate their own proof. Change the assumption, and the proof dissolves. Assume the one thing that aligns with your desire, that your desire is already fulfilled. That assumption simplifies life. Instead of wrestling with doubts, you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Instead of questioning timing, you rest in the state of completion. Instead of analyzing steps, you trust the unseen process that moves through everyone and everything. This assumption does not require effort. It requires acceptance. It does not require strain. It requires inner surrender. You accept your desire as true. You surrender the old story. You walk in the world as though the invisible has already become visible, as though the unseen future is now the present fact. When you practice this consistently, you will notice subtle shifts first. Your reactions will soften. Your self-talk will improve. Your mood will stabilize. Things that once agitated you will no longer reach you. Why? Because the inner state you now occupy has a different vibration, a different flavor, a different emotional signature. You cannot hold a fulfilled assumption and continue to be tormented by old fears. The old state loses its power the moment you stop feeding it with attention. And then, without warning, outer changes will begin to appear. Sometimes gradually, sometimes instantly. A call will come. A message will appear. A door you thought was closed will reopen. Someone will speak a sentence that shifts everything. You will find yourself at the right place, at the right time, speaking the right words. This is the law at work, not coincidence, not chance, but the outer reflection of an inner assumption that has become dominant. Assume this one thing, that your wish is fulfilled. that your desire is a done deal, that your prayer is already answered. Carry this assumption with you. In silence, in stillness, in moments of doubt, in moments of routine, when the world contradicts you, hold the inner fact more firmly than the outer appearance. Appearances are shadows. The assumption is substance. Appearances change. Assumption endures. Appearances are delayed. Assumption is immediate. The world may take time to reflect it, but the inner reality is already complete. And remember this, you are not trying to convince the world, you are convincing yourself. You are not trying to change circumstances, you are changing your inner state. You are not trying to make things happen, you are assuming they have already happened. Life unfolds from within. Life listens to your inner tone. Every event is the echo of an assumption you once held knowingly or unknowingly. Today you choose consciously. Let the assumption become natural. Let it become familiar. Revisit it until it feels like home. Let the feeling of the wish fulfilled be your resting place, your default mood, your quiet certainty. And the moment it feels natural, the moment it feels obvious, the moment it no longer feels like trying but simply being, that is the moment the outer world must obey. Assume this one thing. And you watch life change, not by force, not by pressure, not by frantic effort, but by the gentle, inevitable unfolding of a law that has always been working for you. Assume it now, live in it now, breathe from it now, and let the world catch up to the truth you have already accepted within. When you assume the fulfillment of your desire, you are not pretending. You are participating in a higher truth than the one your senses report. The senses can only show you what has already been accepted within, never what is possible. They are reporters, not creators. They echo your assumptions. They do not initiate them. So when you assume your wish is fulfilled, even while the senses show the opposite, you are not fighting reality. You are creating the next reality that the senses will soon confirm. Your inner world is the workshop where every outcome is shaped. The world you touch, the world you walk through, the world you react to is the finished product, not the blueprint. And yet, most people stand inside the finished product and try to change it directly. They complain about it, argue with it, resist it, push against it as if the outer form will rearrange itself simply because they dislike it. It cannot. It will not. The outer is the shadow, and the shadow cannot move independently of the object that casts it. The moment you adjust the inner assumption, you adjust the shape that casts the shadow, and the shadow must change. Assume this one thing, that you are already what you want to become. Your consciousness will then begin to build a world that fits your new identity. You may not see the gears turning, but they are moving with precision. People will play their roles. Circumstances will align. Events will shift. The world will do everything in its power to mirror your assumption. This law never fails. It only reflects. And it reflects impartially whether your assumption is one of success or failure, abundance or limitation, love or rejection. The challenge for most people is not the law. It is the persistence of old assumptions. They wake each day stepping into the same state of consciousness they held yesterday. They glance at their bank account, their relationships, their routine, and unconsciously assume that what was must continue to be. They forget that they are the ones carrying the past forward. The past has no power except the power you assign through the assumptions you continue to feed. If you withdraw your attention, the past dissolves. If you stop rehearsing old stories, they lose their authority. If you refuse to feel from the limitations that once defined you, they no longer have the substance to form your future. You may find that the old assumptions will try to return. They will whisper, nothing has changed. They will present memories as evidence. They will stir old emotions. But these are not truths, they are habits. And a habit has only one purpose: to be replaced. The moment you hold a new assumption with more loyalty than the old begins to crumble. And if you remain faithful to your new inner state, the evidence of the old will vanish like smoke in the wind. Assumption is not a fight. It is not strain. It is quiet inner certainty. It is the ease of knowing that the seed you planted is alive beneath the soil, even when you cannot see it. No farmer digs up the seed every hour to check if something is happening. He trusts the process. He knows the unseen is at work. He assumes growth simply because he planted the seed. This is the same relationship you must have with your desires. The very act of assuming the wish fulfilled is planting the seed. Your continued faith in that assumption is watering it. Your inner silence, your refusal to contradict it emotionally, is the sunlight that allows it to grow. You will know your assumption is working when your reactions change before your circumstances do. Circumstances are slow compared to consciousness. Consciousness is immediate. Circumstances must follow. When you can imagine a situation that once troubled you and feel no anxiety, when you can think of a desire that once felt distant and now feel the warmth of ownership, when you can walk through your day with an inner tone of certainty without needing outer confirmation, these are signs the state has taken root. These are signs your assumption has become your new foundation. And soon, life will begin to echo that foundation. A stranger's compliment, an unexpected opportunity, a sudden shift in someone's attitude, a quiet intuition that guides you to take a step you would not have taken before. All these are gentle knockings from the world saying, I heard your assumption. And the more natural the inner assumption becomes, the more dramatic the outer reflections will grow. You are not limited by your current identity. You are only limited by your willingness to assume a new one. Identity is fluid. Identity is selection. Identity is imagination choosing a new position in consciousness. If you assume you are wealthy, your consciousness reorganizes itself around abundance. If you assume you are loved, your consciousness reorganizes itself around connection. If you assume you are successful, your consciousness reorganizes itself around achievement. Each assumption is a shift in identity, and each identity carries its own world with it. Do not wait for the world to give you permission to change your assumption. It never will. The world only permits what you assume inwardly. If you assume small, it gives you small. If you assume great, it gives you great. And the moment you assume something new, the world is obligated to mirror it, because the world is only a mirror. But remember this, assumption is not about forcing emotion. You do not need to conjure some theatrical intensity to make it work. You only need the quiet conviction that it is already done. Feeling is not drama, feeling is acceptance. A gentle acceptance is more powerful than a forced excitement. A calm knowing is stronger than a desperate hoping. When you feel the truth of your assumption with ease, not strain, you have found the correct inner tone. If doubts rise, do not wrestle with them. Instead, return to the assumption. If fears appear, do not analyze them. Instead, return to the assumption. If the outer world contradicts you, do not argue with it. Instead, return to the assumption. The assumption held in imagination always overrides the appearance held by the senses. Imagination is the first cause. The senses are the last echo. You will discover that assumption becomes easier with repetition, just as the muscle grows stronger with use. The mind grows accustomed to the state you return to again and again. At first, the new assumption may feel unfamiliar, perhaps even unbelievable. But as you revisit it, as you enter it in moments of quiet, as you surrender to its truth, it begins to feel natural. And once it feels natural, it becomes your new dwelling place. The world you desire is not somewhere outside of you waiting to be earned. It is within you now, waiting to be assumed. Every dream, every possibility, every version of yourself already exists in consciousness. You are not trying to create something from nothing. You are selecting from infinite potential. The assumption is the selection, and the selection activates the path, the people, the timing, and the events that belong to that version of you. Assume this one thing, assume the fulfillment now, and your life must reflect it. Not because of luck, not because of chance, not because the world suddenly becomes kinder, but because you have changed the root from which your life grows. And when the root changes, the fruit cannot remain the same. When you walk in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, life begins to feel strangely cooperative, as if an unseen wisdom is arranging all things on your behalf. You will sense movements that have not yet appeared in the physical world. You will feel answers before they come. You will know outcomes before anything has changed externally. This is not fantasy. This is the natural sensitivity of one who has shifted from hoping to knowing. Once you occupy a new inner state, you become aware of subtle changes long before the outer world catches up. Just as a pregnant mother feels light long before she sees it, you feel the reality of your assumption long before you touch it. The most powerful changes begin quietly. Your inner conversations soften. The tension around your desires releases. You stop arguing with yourself. You stop looking for signs because you no longer need them. You stop watching for proof because you understand that proof is inevitable. You begin living inwardly from the reality you assumed, and this becomes your secret strength. People around you may notice a shift without knowing what changed. They may sense a peace in you, a confidence, a silent assurance. This is the mark of someone who has taken dominion over their inner world. Assumptions have a gravity. They pull people, events, and circumstances toward them. Once you assume your desire is fulfilled, that assumption becomes magnetic. It begins drawing everything necessary for its expression. It brings ideas to your mind, nudges you towards certain actions, and detaches you from others. It places you in conversations you didn't plan, connections you didn't chase, alignments you didn't orchestrate. It does not rely on your effort. It relies on your faithfulness to the inner state. Do not worry about how things will unfold. The how belongs to the state you have assumed. Every state contains its own pattern, its own pathway, its own form of expression. If you assume the state, the path will arise naturally. You will not need to design it. You will simply find yourself moved by an unseen rhythm, guided by intuition, carried by inspiration, and supported by circumstances that seem impossibly precise. This is the intelligence of consciousness responding to the assumption you have planted. The moment you shift your assumption, the world begins to reconfigure. People who were once unhelpful may suddenly become supportive. Obstacles may dissolve without effort. Things that once required struggle may now unfold effortlessly. It is not that the world changed. It is that you changed the state from which you perceive the world. The world is always reflecting your inner stance. And when the stance changes, the reflection cannot remain the same. But you must learn to ignore appearances when they contradict your assumption. The world will often show you remnants of the old state. These remnants are not evidence that your new assumption has failed. They are simply echoes of past thoughts, shadows without substance. If you react to them as though they are powerful, you feed them and sustain them. But if you ignore them, if you remain faithful to your new inner reality, they vanish. The old conditions starve when you stop giving them your emotional attention. Many people fall into the trap of measuring progress by external signs. They ask, is anything changing yet? Why haven't I seen movement? But the moment you ask those questions, you reveal that your assumption is not yet firm. When you truly assume something, you do not look for evidence, you live from the reality. Evidence becomes irrelevant because the inner truth feels more real than the outer appearance. And ironically, it is when you stop looking for signs that signs begin to appear everywhere. They come as confirmations, not as requirements. Assume you are already the version of yourself you wish to become. What does that mean practically? It means your reactions change first. The old version of you might have reacted with frustration, worry, or doubt. But the new version, the one who already has the desire, fulfilled, responds with calmness, clarity, and certainty. You no longer feel the need to defend your desire. You no longer feel threatened by delays or setbacks. You no longer push, force, or chase. You simply remain in the state of the one who knows everything is already done. This inner shift affects your energy. Others feel it. They may not understand it, but they sense it. They recognize the confidence, even if they cannot name the source. And because your energy has changed, their behavior toward you changes as well. People treat you according to the state you occupy, not according to what you say. If you assume smallness, they will mirror that. If you assume greatness, they will mirror that. If you assume success, they will respond to you as one who succeeds. The outer world is a stage, and every state of consciousness is a character. When you assume a new state, you step into a new character. And once you are in that character, the world must interact with you accordingly. You cannot play the role of the successful person inwardly and continue to receive the same responses you received when you played the role of the defeated one. The world knows nothing of your desires. It only knows your assumption. If you ever grow weary, return to the assumption. If you ever feel discouraged, return to the assumption. If you ever find yourself slipping into old patterns, return gently to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is your home base. This is your power. This is the inner fact that creates the outer fact. The more often you return to it, the faster it becomes natural. And once it becomes natural, it becomes inevitable. You may notice that your assumption becomes dominant. You stop discussing your desires outwardly. You no longer feel the need to explain what you are pursuing or justify why you believe it. You become inwardly satisfied, inwardly fulfilled, inwardly complete. And in that inner completion, outer fulfillment must appear. The world cannot deny the one who assumes with conviction. For conviction is the language of the creative power. The moment you assume something new, life begins to reorganize itself. But the reorganization often happens in silence. It happens behind the scenes. It happens in places you cannot see. You must trust this silent rearrangement. Just as seeds sprout beneath the earth in darkness before breaking through the soil, your desire grows invisibly before becoming visible. The darkness is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of beginnings. And if ever you feel impatience creeping in, remind yourself that impatience belongs to the state of not having, while your assumption belongs to the state of already fulfilled. The two cannot coexist. Impatience dissolves when you rest in the fulfillment. When you truly feel the wish is already granted, waiting no longer exists. You simply live from the end. And time bends around your assumption, so now understand this, the life you have been seeking is not somewhere ahead of you, waiting for time or circumstance to catch up. It exists right now, within the assumption you choose to inhabit. The world does not move independently. It responds to the inner reality you hold. The one assumption you make believing your desire is already fulfilled is the key that unlocks every door, dissolves every obstacle, and draws to you everything that belongs to that state. Do not wait for conditions to be perfect. Do not seek permission from the outer world. Do not rely on evidence before you act. Your only task is to assume, to feel, to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled until it becomes natural, until it becomes undeniable, until it becomes the foundation of your very being. The moment you do this, life itself must change, for consciousness is the first cause, and the world is merely its reflection. Carry this truth with you every day. In moments of doubt, return to it. In moments of silence, embody it. In moments of challenge, let it guide you. Assume the fulfillment of your desire as if it were already yours, and watch the impossible become inevitable. The power is not outside you. It has always been within. And when you finally realize this, your life will no longer be a series of struggles and waiting. It will be a continuous unfolding of miracles. For the assumption you hold is the law that shapes all things. Assume this one thing, and you will never be the same again.